Jihad, Jihad, Jihad.
Allahu
Now, all of these are recorded. And I'm sure that if anybody were to check all of the recordings, I have never come on as impacted as I am this morning. First, I just want to say purely, I love you, man.
I love you too.
I know you do. And I've never, ever doubted it in the years that I've had the pleasure of knowing you.
No.
There is so much that I see in your expression that I have to talk to you offline. But for now, my Lord, I want to share something with you that I was inspired to see in what you were saying in response to Sister Minerva, who raised a beautiful question that I had no idea. I had no idea where it was going. But I trusted in how you were going to respond. And when you mentioned fire and water, and in particular, if I heard you correctly, you said that a fire that doesn't have smoke or doesn't produce smoke, is that in the Quran or the Hadith?
The Hadith mentioned the jinn being created from a fire that blows off no smoke.
Oh, that's it. That's it. It connected to what I've been repeating of the words of the Most Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and the experience I had where he was telling me over the phone, he said to me that the jinn, the fire or the fiery nature of the jinn represents emotion. And the men, as in Surah Al-Nas says, about that whispering which you gave the Arabic word for. Was it wasl or something like that? That this devil whispers into the hearts of men from amongst the jinn and from amongst the men. The minister said that the battle inside is over the man needing, I'll use the word you just said, qualify. But the word that the Honorable Louis Farrakhan said to me was the man or the men has to man up over the jinn. Now, he says this fiery nature of the jinn is called of the first creation. And since it is in the nature of man. It's in, he said, the nature of God.
Mm-hmm.
Look at this. The nature of God. And when you said from the hadith that it is a fire that gives off no smoke,
Mm-hmm.
the smoke that we see in this third dimension of physical material things, that kind of fire produces smoke not of itself, but the smoke is the evidence of its utter destruction of the material that it is burning.
Mm-hmm.
So since the jinn is in the nature of us, it's in the nature. Think over this.
Mm-hmm.
There is no smoke because it's not the kind of fire that we see. And it is not the fire that utterly destroys us in the material sense.
Mm-hmm.
And also because it is an original element.
Mm-hmm.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I believe, said during the Theology of Time series that there was fire in water.
Mm-hmm.
That gives us a heck of a clue.
Mm-hmm.
Fire in water. Now, if in this third dimension you take a physical fire and you put it in water, the water extinguishes that fire. That is symbolic of what happens to love. When you receive the love of God in your heart, it acts as water to the fiery nature of your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what calms you down. I witnessed that in your answers to the two previous people that first asked, Sister Mary and Sister Minerva, and how they reacted to the answers that Allah through you gave to them. The manner of it was like water. Even to myself, which is one of the reasons I'm impacted by you and your expression. It's like water that puts out the fire or an effect of our inner emotion. What has moved us in our personal life, or what we have allowed by misunderstanding to ill affect us from those that we identify, as you said, as our child, our husband, our spouse, our mother, our father, who we call our friends, who may not be what we perceive them to be, like in the case of Noah trying to save his son. But he's my son, and Allah says he is not your son. You see? In that regard, that is how that fiery nature of the jinn consumes who you at first identified or thought was your child, your husband, your wife, your brother, your sister, your physical, biological parents, your so-called friends. who change on you. They change on you, especially your friends. It's always said first, "Oh, we love you. Oh, you're the best thing since sliced bread. I thought I saw you get off the mothership just before you came into this room." Until you say something that ill affects them. You see? And then what it brings out is that Shaitan who lives in the fire of us. You see? And then you see people start to change. You know, there's something in that old saying, you don't fight fire with fire, because you just make a bigger fire.
Wow.
You know, I think it was Mahatma Gandhi that said, "Eye for an eye makes the whole world go blind."
That's right.
In his Bernice voice, Jihad.
Yes,
But anyway, and that's how we are. When we're ill-affected, we're just ignorant. And that's not to be insulting. We are. That's why Allah, out of His grace, allows us to live a little longer, a little longer, a little longer, so that you'll see, come to see, you didn't know any better. That's why Jesus says, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." So they do silly things, and that's where forgiveness is so important. Forgive them who offend you, who trespass on you. They don't know no better. If they did, they would do better. They don't know no better. So we just react. I don't like how that came out. I don't like what that said. And you can hear it in people's voices when they talk. Jinn, the fire of jinn is coming out. You understand what I'm saying, brother? No, they just need love. They just need love. They need God's love.
That's right.
Not your or my love. They need God's love. And God knows when to give it. Because God is such that He makes the fiery nature, look at that nature of the jinn, who is in the nature of God. He makes that, like Jesus said to the devil when he was on that 40-day fast in the desert. He said, "It is written that even you shall serve the Lord." Even you. That's like saying, it is written that even the jinn shall serve the Lord. That means that even the white man shall serve the Lord. That means even your fiery emotions shall serve the Lord. Allah brings everything into submission to His will. Otherwise, He's not God. Even with Ramsey, the wicked Pharaoh, the most wicked man that ever walked the earth, according to many interpretations. But Allah was not going to allow him to just die underwater. Why? Because Allah makes everything submit to Him. And Allah preserved him. His body floated up and was preserved. Not because he was so powerfully wicked, but because he was so powerfully wicked, Allah proved that He is God. He's going to prove that in each and every one of those creatures that He has allowed to what? Exist. Come into being. I have to tell you what happened this morning when I came on the line, but I'll tell you offline because it is for you. Please continue on, and I will do my best to contain myself because I really need to hear more of what Allah is engineering in you. In you. When you speak of your 3 years in solitary confinement, brother, those were the 3 most important years of your life. When I went to the minister one day and I said, Brother Minister, and I'm just crying and sobbing, I said, I just feel so lonely. So lonely. And he said, yes, I understand, son. He said, now, how alone do you think I have been? And all these years without your father. When I used to be able to just call him up anytime I had a problem, he always had an answer, a solution, and a directive. Who do I have to go to now? He said, how lonely do you think your mother has been all these years without her husband? How alone do you think the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was after the departure of Master Fard Muhammad? And did not Master Fard Muhammad come here by himself? And then he topped it off with, and how alone do you think God was in the beginning in triple darkness? And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad went so far as to say that he had to wait. Look at this. He had to wait for brain cells to develop in order to think his way out of the dark. He said, so you see, if you're feeling lonely and you are alone, he said that's the most opportune time of your life, because that's when Allah can get to you. He said, you see, Allah doesn't like to intervene when we think we know. He doesn't like to intervene when we think we have. Look at those two things. Think we know and think we have.
Wow.
He waits for us to lose everything we piecemeal faith to, so that when he does come to you, it is undiluted with what you think you know and what you think you have. Man, I heard something in you thus far this morning. I urgently will call you after this is over. I have to tell you what happened.
Allahu Akbar.
And you are my cousin.
Allahu Akbar.
And that's not just a blood thing. And I mean, it is, but it's not just a blood thing. As my uncle told me in Detroit always, remember, nephew, blood is thicker than water. I said, that may be true, but spirit is what dictates its course. I got to talk to you afterwards. Please forgive me for being long. But don't stop, Chief. Don't stop, and lean not on anybody for what Allah is allowing to flow through you. And I thank Allah for arranging everything. And I particularly enjoyed your response to the two callers before me. But I hope that will add something to your study and your exegesis, particularly as it relates to the fire. You know? Yep. And what you shared, that we all should take into study and get the playback of Brother Jihad's presentation this morning with the references in the Holy Quran, references in Message to the Black Man. Right. I'm so excited. This is now becoming a real classroom. And Brother Jihad's example today is what really makes it one, because he's not preaching. Right. He's teaching. He's
Assalamu alaikum. Happy Holy Day of Atonement. It's the 24th anniversary of the Holy Day of Atonement. We have our Chief of Staff and our Chairman of Masjid al-Nasr, Brother Richard Muhammad, my brother for life.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum. I'm fine. Yes.
This is our big brother, Secretary Brother Terrell, and the trainer of men, Big Brother Will. Brother Secretary. Brother Secretary.
Where you at, Brother Secretary? Where you at? Lock in.
Yeah, bro. Show the man in the middle, bro. Yes, sir. Come on, bro. Oh, wait, bro. No, wait.
Yes, sir.
All praise is due to Allah. Happy Holy Day of Atonement. Yes, sir. Happy Holy Day of Atonement. With my brother, Jonathan Muhammad. That's right. Yes, sir. Truth to the bone man. Yes, sir. Truth to the bone man.
Assalamu alaikum. These are the 7 G codes that governs the BYC, which is an acronym that stands for Building Your Community. G code number 1. I, your name, will treat my brother or sister as I treat myself. G code number 2. I, your name, will not cheat my brother or sister. Number 3. I, your name, will not rob my brother or sister. G code number 4. I, your name, will not attempt or even think about taking on my brother's wife, girlfriend, or significant other, and vice versa for the sisters. G code number 5. I, your name, agree. If there's ever a problem between me and my brothers or sisters, I will try my best with all my might to resolve the problem within 3 days. G code number 6. I, your name, will treat my brother or sister's children as if they were my very own niece and nephews. I will always encourage them and never violate them in no way. G code number 7. I, your name, will strive to uphold the restrictive laws of Islam, which means peace, to the best of my ability until I can master them all. These are the 7 G codes of the BYC. So help me God, I plan to uphold the 7 G codes. Assalamu alaikum.